Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like.
And subscribe to the pod, too, down below in the description.
John, the 49ers, we have breaking news. Nick Mullins is he's not going to be able to take his turn in the rotation.
No.
And so Josh Rosen, signed from the Tom Brady's practice squad, is now on the Niners' active roster for this week's game against the Cardinals. How about that?
You know the crazy thing is? Just the headline of it. The irony of the name Josh Rosen being signed, like just that alone, right, is like, whoa, Josh Rosen, who was just drafted really high in the draft, his 2 career victories against the Niners, or I guess 2 out of 3 of them against the 49ers. And you think, oh, they just signed a top 10 pick of yesteryear that, in that group of quarterbacks that are all playing well. But then you see the word next to it that says practice squad. So you can't get excited about a signing, even though it's like, oh, this really good guy. He's on a practice squad. And here's the other thing, Guy. It's December 22nd. So other teams have just had this opportunity. And there is a place, I was reading a headline that they did this the day before. You could lock guys in. It's not like Tampa's losing sleep, I think, over losing Josh Rosen. They would, if they loved him, they would have avoided this potential situation and just moved him up a long time ago, right? Yes. If they had ample time to do it. Bruce Arians is a quarterback guy. So I think the headline, it's fair to say, is a lot bigger than the actuality of him coming to be a 49er, right?
Yep, no doubt. I think part of what makes it intriguing, because all of the evidence that we have says this is not a starting quarterback, right? He's not been the backup quarterback for the Bucs. He's not been the active backup for Tampa Bay. It was
Blaine Gabbert is. Like Blaine Gabbert's
yep.
better.
So the Niners certainly had this opportunity. Now, they were for a while in the bit of a race, and you had Mullins, you had Beathard to know the offense. But the Niners, if they thought Josh Rosen was going to be a star, right, they could have signed him 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and just had 3 quarterbacks. They've done it before with Jimmy, right?
Well,
You're
is Josh Johnson still around? Is he somewhere?
No.
Okay. So, but they had a choice a while back. They had the Josh Johnson choice. Well, I guess you have to take him from the practice. You got to put him on the active. So, yeah. But anyway, the point is this.
Because technically Garoppolo still takes up a spot, right? He's not on injured reserve.
Right.
He's just he's getting the full paycheck while he gets to just hang out. He's got a good gig.
Here's all the evidence says this is not a starting quarterback. I think what makes it intriguing is that he really hasn't played that much. It's not like we've watched Josh Rosen play 2 full seasons and you just every Sunday you turn on the TV and Rosen's throwing the ball, slipping and falling, the ball's falling out of his hands, or he's throwing the ball down the field. He's throwing interceptions every game, twice a week, that kind of. We haven't seen him, right? I think the fact that we haven't really seen him in 2 years, he threw 58 passes last year for Miami. No one really saw that. Yeah. He started 13 games for the Cardinals. Feels like a lifetime ago.
They were the worst team in the league. They ended
were terrible,
up with the number 1 pick.
And he threw 14 picks. But I think that's part of the intrigue, right? Is that it's like people go, I wonder what he looks like. I just want to know once and for all that he's not an NFL starter, even though, again, the league has told us for the last couple of years they don't think he is. That's part of the intrigue. Now, the other thing is, like, if you'd done this week 5, and I'm not saying they should have, I'm just saying if they had, you'd go, okay, Rosen's going to learn the offense, and then maybe by the end of the season he could start a game or something. I'm not really sure how he could get up to speed.
Yeah, I mean, I joked about it on social media. I said I'd start him, get a look. They play on Saturday. It's probably unrealistic, right, that he can get him ready for this Saturday. I do think it's fair if they lose this game with C.J. Beathard. Because the other thing, he's going to be up. Like, he's going to be – every snap, he's going to be 1 snap away from playing. So I'm not trying to act like you can just – the Niners winning this game does not matter. You could make the argument if maybe there's some parallels just around other coaches he's been with. He had like 17 offensive coordinators at UCLA. I think there's a decent chance. Would you disagree just from a football perspective? A lot of their basic concepts, maybe the terminology was called differently. He's ran Kyle Shanahan plays, right? Parts of it and route concepts. He's been in a lot of offenses.
Yes.
It'd be crazy from the sense of he'd be starting from scratch running the offense on Saturday. But if Kyle did do it, was like, yeah, they're trying to get a look the last 2 weeks to see if like he's anything for the offseason. I don't think it'd be that crazy. And I definitely don't think it's crazy for the last game. If you just lose by a couple touchdowns, he's been there for 2 weeks. You give him just basic plays and you go play Seattle and get a live look of Josh Rosen. And if I'm Josh Rosen, that could be the best thing. It might resurrect my career, just make me a backup quarterback. Which is all. God, he looks good. Or it might just keep you with Kyle, right?
Well, I think the one thing would be, does he have a higher physical upside than Mullins or Beathard?
Are you guessing? Let me throw something to you. Do you think he takes a snap, like a meaningful, not like a victory? It wouldn't be a victory formation, not just like a handed off. I mean, in the game going, do you think he takes a snap the next 2 weeks?
Josh Rosen revenge game this week? I don't think he takes a snap against the Cardinals. I hope he takes a snap in the season finale. Albeit, I mean, Seattle actually. This isn't the Seattle of our grandfathers, John.
You think it's crazy to start him in that game though, and just give him basic plays?
No.
Especially if you're 5-10.
If you're going to put him on your active roster, it means you think that he knows something, right?
Again, one snap away, guy. He's one rolled ankle from coming in the game.
I would play him week 17. I would try to get him up to give him a week and a half, get him up to speed, and play him week 17 because.
CJ hasn't been able to beat out the guy we've been watching.
Yeah.
Right.
Beathard hasn't played until it's been over, right? So Kyle doesn't think he's better than Mullins. You know, I think back to the Monday Night Bills game, and maybe by the time you watch this video, Kyle has said something about Josh Rosen. But going into that Bills game, remember Shanahan said that Rosen's draft class, the 2018 draft class, he made this comment about Josh Allen because that was Baker, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, and Lamar Jackson. The Niners had the 9th pick, and they took McGlinchey, and then the Cardinals took Rosen at 10 after they traded with the Raiders. He made a comment before the Josh Allen Bills game like that he had watched some of these guys, and he wasn't specific, but he kind of made it seem like he had hoped that one or two of them would have come out the year before, you know, the year that he wasn't watching Mahomes film, that maybe they could have got one of these guys the year prior. So I don't, again, like you said to me, who knows? He's just making a comment before the Josh Allen game. Maybe he's trying to say something nice. Maybe he liked Rosen. I think one thing's clear, right? He probably watched Rosen film going into the 18 draft, even though they had Jimmy on their roster.
I do think it's hard to miss Rosen if you just lived out here on the West Coast. You get a lot of Pac-12 games. People forget because UCLA's kind of got a little more relevant since he left. They were pretty relevant, I thought, his sophomore and junior year, don't you? He was a super hyped player. It felt like they played in a lot of, and partly they were winning 7 to 8 games. Playing on like some ABC midday games.
Remember they had that wild comeback against Texas?
But 100%. But I felt like during the season, it felt like they put UCLA in some marquee games with Josh Rosen. He was just, he was a player that was just on the tip of everyone's tongue. Like if you were a football guy, you knew who Josh Rosen were. If you lived on the West Coast and just those games were on TV, you definitely saw him play. So maybe there's just some, connectivity here of, they watched a lot of them. You just in the area. Adam Peters, a UCLA guy. So not shocking to me at all.
I hadn't even thought, if you had said like the Niners need a quarterback, who are they going to find? I wouldn't have thought of Rosen, but it makes. I'll tell you this: if he's playing Week 17, I think it's easy to say I'm rooting for that. It just makes it more. It's all of a sudden it's watchable. I hope he finds a way to be their backup quarterback, John, because I think one thing is clear. The guys they had backing up Jimmy Garoppolo this year are not good enough to sustain you if your starting quarterback goes down. So what the hell?
And I'd be shocked if Josh Rosen isn't better than CJ Beathard. I have a hard time seeing that.
He was much better than him as a college quarterback.
Wasn't even close.
What are Beathard's numbers as an NFL quarterback? I mean, Rosen's not good, right? Rosen's 55%. 12 touchdowns and 19 picks.
I think the major knock on Josh as a player is the athlete, like he can't move relative to what I think people are used to now. Even Nick Mullins and Jimmy, like he's on the low end of quarterback athletes. He's very old school. Like he's more of a 90s player than he is like the 2020s moving forward, right? Mm-hmm. He is not like, we're not going to see many Josh Rosens even in this draft, but he does have a big arm.
Yeah.
I guess Kyle Trask a little bit, but he's kind of an old school player.
Let us know if you think Rosen's got anything to offer the Shanahan 49ers down in the comments below.